BMW, they're updating the 4 Series and the BMW M4 for the 2024 model. The major changes happens on the inside, and that's what we're gonna have a look at here. What is going on with BMW's interiors these days? I'm not sure. I want to hear your opinion when we compare the 2021 or the 2023 BMW M4 interior to the new interior of the 2024. Let me know which one you prefer. I have a clear favorite, and I think you know which one that's gonna be already, but we're gonna jump in and look at that a bit later. First of all, let's have a look at what's actually new for the 2024 M4 and the 4 Series. From this article from Car and Driver. I'm going to link this article down in the description if you want to go and check out the full thing. It now comes standard with a curved display setup that's also found in this 3 Series Coupe sedan, and of course many other new BMWs. So you can see that right here. I'm going to hold back on what my opinions on this for this time right now while we go through this article. This is just the facts that we're gonna go through. So we have a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster, pretty standard, but then we have a 14.9-inch infotainment screen right here in the middle, basically a small little TV right on the dash. And you also have a new software update, the iDrive 8, which has an updated graphics and menu structures. And the starting price for the 2024 M4, it starts at about $78,000. So let's jump into Photoshop here and let's have a look at, first of all, I want to show you this, reiterate a little bit why the BMW M3 is such a better design than the M4. So here we have, as you can see, we have the M4 up top, right here we have the M3 at the bottom. So why is the M3 such a better design than the M4? It's very simple. You can't really see it when you just focus on the front end right here, but when you look at the side view, this is where it becomes interesting. And I don't really think these kidneys, the size of these kidneys are not a problem, because now we have cars, Genesis for example, we have a lot of different car manufacturers making grills that are double the size of what BMW have here, but the problem is the integration of this specific graphic feature in the front end. I'm not going to talk a lot about the grills because I've done that in several videos before, but it needs to be integrated better. So maybe have a curvature here and have this be body colored, something like this, so we have a smoother integration instead of just having it crashing into the grille, and then you have this thin piece here looking very weak, like you can take it and kind of snap that little piece of body color material right there in 2 pieces very easily. And that's why I think the front end could have been designed a lot better by integrating these features in the front end and have them be have a better connection to the rest of the graphics in the front. But the side view, this is what I want to focus on here, because the M4, it doesn't have a lot going on in the side view. It doesn't have any clear structure. We have one shoulder line here, then the one in the middle, and then it comes back in the top part of the front fender, and this creates a very weak looking side view. It doesn't have a solid structure for the shoulder line to be connected from the tail end graphics to the front end graphics in one single line. And I think that is necessary for the BMW M4 to have. You can kind of see that it has almost a shoulder line going here, but it's actually broken. You can see that when we look at the side view, there isn't any sharp line right in the middle right there. And then we have this line at the bottom. We don't have the Hofmeister kink in the M4, which is pretty interesting. It would be such a small detail to just add a Hofmeister kink here and make it more BMW-ish by having this angle being in this line instead of having it sloping down that way. And on top of that, I've always thought that this has a very Mustang-y look to the side view, specifically the roof line. The rear end looks very cool. I'm really glad with how they designed the rear end of the M4 and the M3. Looks super cool, but the problem I have with the M4 is that there is nothing going on here and everything happens in the front end, making it so heavy graphically in the front that it feels like it's almost leaning over with mass in the front. Now look at the M3. Compare the M3 to the M4. I'm going to try and have them in the same frame here so you can see what I'm talking about. Looking at the side view, we have the same kind of lines in the front end, but now we also have a super sharp shoulder line going from the corner of the taillight into the corner of the headlight right there. So you have one single line that stretches from one point to the other and creating this strong feeling and solid graphic that we need to have to combine these two ends, because they're both so graphic heavy in the front and the rear, so we need this connection between them being solid. And then we have this line very similar to the M4 as well. Doesn't really mean much in this case. And then one thing I think it's I can't unsee on the M3 is when they developed the M3, they did not want to make a special passenger door from the regular 3 Series for the M3. So you can see just how weird this cut is here. This is a very interesting treatment of a wide rear fender because it kind of crashes in to the rear door. It doesn't have a smooth transition going from the rear fender into the door. Very interesting design, but that's also a way to save money when you're developing an M3. I love the rear end of the new M3. I think it looks really cool. Look at these bazooka tailpipes, simple diffuser in the bottom, and simple graphics of the taillights. So I prefer the taillights of the M3 over the M4. I prefer the side view for the reasons I just explained to the M4. If I were to buy this car today, I would go for a 2023 or earlier, up to 2021 BMW M3. I would not get the 2024 M3 or M4, and the reason being is, of course, what we're gonna have a look at right now. That is the interior. So have a look at this. This is the 2021 interior, looking great. It looks fantastic. You have a nice housing, very solidly defined housing for the gauge cluster going into the infotainment screen right here, which has a nice look at this connection from the screen going into the graphics in the dash itself, and how the air vents on the side also has a connection to the side of the gauge cluster. Everything has a connection to each other. So if you have a gauge cluster, it has some sort of line flow going into the infotainment screen having some line flow going into the other graphics of the lower part of the interior. Looking fantastic. Same thing if you look at this from a side view, and you can see the integration here. I love how this sticks out. This house sticks out so far and creates a clear cap for the gauge cluster, looking really cool and cozy for the gauge cluster right here. Then you have a pretty decent integration of the infotainment screen. It could probably be integrated a little bit better than this, but small details that I don't really care about. And these seats look absolutely fantastic. It could be because they're blue and yellow, the color of Sweden, which is my home country, so maybe that's why I think they look so good. But I love the color combination of this interior. Now, let's have a look at the 2024 M4 interior. Now, this on the side here is not the M4. This is the 4 Series Grand Coupe interior, because I couldn't find new images of the M4 interior from this specific angle, but there's a reason why I put this angle in here. First of all, let's have a look at the driver view. So compare these two, and this is where I want to hear your opinion. Which one of these would you prefer? The one where the interior designers actually still have a job, which is up here, or the one where you have sort of a very sterile interior looking with this big screen and 14 point something inch infotainment with 12.4 or 3 inch gauge cluster just sitting here on the dash? I don't understand why BMW or car manufacturers are doing these upgrades to the interiors today. It just makes it lack and more identity. It's like we're stripping away more features both from the exterior and the interior to create something that it's gonna look exactly the same across the board of manufacturers. And I think that when you have details like the gauge cluster housing here, the infotainment, the integration of the infotainment, you can actually stylize how you want this to be integrated. But when you have a screen like this, you as an interior designer, you can't do anything because it's just a static looking rectangle that you put behind the steering wheel, and that's it. I don't think this is the right approach to go. And when we look at the integration of this new screen, this right here, what is going on with this integration? What is BMW doing when they integrate a screen like this? They have a curved display, which is okay, that's pretty cool. But then we have this big bracket sticking out in the rear, looking like a a gaming console design from the 80s or something like that. It doesn't look very nice at all in any way, and I don't know how much dirt is going to fall in here and kind of build up between this screen in this part. So to me, this interior is not an upgrade at all over the 2021 up to 2023 interior of the BMW M4. And honestly, I hope this is a trend that's going to change. But when I look at new concept cars, it feels like we're going more and more into this philosophy of just stripping away anything that's stylized and that's been designed and hand drawn by a actual human into interiors that are very static, boring, and doesn't inspire or invoke any sort of emotion. And this is just one step forward towards that kind of philosophy, in my opinion. Let me know what you think about these new interiors. Are you a fan of these big screens? Or do you prefer the older, I mean a couple of years old interiors that we have? For example, right here in the M4, we still have a digital gauge cluster, we still have a digital infotainment screen, but they've been designed by an actual human being, interior designer, to create a nice flow of the different parts of the graphics of the interior.